Once again, thank you so much for coming, James.
Of course, yeah, thank you.
More than happy and very, very proud that the festival fit in your schedule. Where are you coming from?
I was just in London. I did a little talk at the ICA, and before that I was in New Orleans doing a film directed by Seth Rogen.
I mean, you are an actor, writer, director. Just to mention, just to show you the book Palo Alto that you wrote 2011, and it's also published here in Germany.
Just came out. I heard there were very good reviews. I can't read German, but very grateful.
Franco is based on a footage that you made while shooting General Hospital.
Yes.
Yes.
So about 2 years ago, I decided to go on to a soap opera, American soap opera called General Hospital, and it was really just an experiment, or a way to try something new. And then the reaction was so large because in the States there's a certain hierarchy about entertainment that people kind of have in their heads, where usually they imagine the trajectory of an actor to maybe start on a soap opera and then, as they see it, graduate to primetime television or film. But no one would ever imagine that an actor would want to go from working in films with Gus Van Sant and Danny Boyle to a soap opera. And I wanted
Why did you do that?
Part of it, there were a lot of reasons, but part of it was to defy that idea of higher kinds of entertainment and lower kinds of entertainment, because I felt like some people got a lot out of soap operas, and there were things that soap operas could do that mainstream movies could not do. So I just tried it, and because the response was so large, we started thinking about how to make something more of this phenomenon, and we started filming the actual making of the soap opera. In addition to that, I had my own film crew filming the filming of that. And so at that moment, there were a lot of different, levels or frames, happening at once. So the character Franco ostensibly put on a show at MoCA, and there were sets built there, and those were the characters' sculptures. But they actually were, on a different level, they were actually sculptures or sets at the actual site that you could say was part of my work, or at least my concept. In some ways it is a portrait of labor in the entertainment industry, and to juxtapose that with a fictional and exaggerated inner monologue, I think highlights the side that's real, and by showing an extreme fictional side as well.
We are showing also my own private river and Idaho, which is based on Gus Van Sant's film. Can you tell us a little bit of the history of your...
Yeah. So when I was a teenager, one of my favorite films, or probably my favorite film, was My Own Private Idaho by Gus Van Sant. And I'd watch it, over and over again on VHS, and then later, about 10 years later, I had moved to Hollywood. I was a professional actor, and I met Gus Van Sant. And the first time I met him, it was before we did Milk, and all I asked him about was My Own Private Idaho and stories about My Own Private Idaho. So he said to me, Gus said to me that if I went, he would give me a tour of all the locations where they shot My Own Private Idaho. And I said, okay. And so I went, and we spent a day, and he took me around and told me more stories, and it was a great day. And then at the end he said, that he had held on to all the dailies from the film, and they shot it in 1990 and it came out in 91, and so that meant that it was on film. He cut it on a Steenbeck. It wasn't cut digitally, so he had hundreds of these rolls. They were the editor's rolls. So I said, well, we have to watch, all of it, and so he said, all right, we'll try. So I went back 2 months later, and we spent 2 full days and sat and watched as much of the material as we could. I think there's about 30 hours. And then he said, while we were sitting there watching it, he said, it's funny, this is the process I go through when I'm about to cut a film, and it's making me want to, cut this film again. And I said, yeah, well, you should. And not because not to make a better film, but just to, really show all, some of this material that nobody has ever seen except Gus and the editor, and now me. And he said, well, it costs a lot of money to digitize it, and I don't have the money to do that. So that was like a light bulb in my head, and I went to Gucci and asked them to sponsor the project, and they did. And they digitized them. They paid for the digitization, and then at that moment, because now there are multiple copies, I humbly asked Gus if I could cut a version, and if he didn't like what I made, that I would never show it to anybody. And he said yes. He's a very generous and open kind of collaborator, and I think he thought that he was going to have to tell me that I could never show it to anybody, but I did it, and he liked it. It's not meant to compete with the original in any way. It's really, and it's not even supposed to, the reason we put it out in these art contexts is that it doesn't have the pressure to sell tickets like the original did. It's a movie that can really just look at what it wants to look at and focus at what it wants to focus on, mainly, River Phoenix's character.
You would ever consider having people with no acting experience in the movie?
Would I consider working with people that don't have acting experience? Yeah, I mean, in the movie Idaho, the 2 main actors are first-time actors. I love working with, I guess, non-actors or people with very little acting experience, if they're, right for the roles. Sometimes it can be, I think, even more interesting than a trained actor. Or, in another movie I just directed, like, for instance, there's a scene with a blacksmith, and instead of going to an actor and asking him to learn how to be a blacksmith, we just went to a real blacksmith and had him, kind of be himself. So I do enjoy using non-actors. But I also like using actors. So in Idaho, you can, Udo Kier is in there, and yeah, I like to mix it up.
Okay, there was another question.
Is one of your motivations for your documentaries to balance your Hollywood acting career?
Yeah. So the documentaries, or all projects, or just the documentaries?
These 2 things.
Yeah, that question is, are the documentaries I direct and I guess the movies I direct a way to balance my Hollywood career? And yeah, in a way, it's not that I'm not proud of the work I do in Hollywood. I love working with the people I work with in these mainstream movies. and working with, you know, Gus Van Sant or Danny Boyle or Sam Raimi are all, you know, great things. But when I go and make a film or direct a film or make a documentary, it's a chance for me to focus on subjects that I am interested in and make them in ways that are not commercially minded. I mean, I think I'm very responsible about the funding for the movies I do, and it's one of the reasons that I've really tried to find a way to make feature films for as little money as possible, so that I can make them in, you know, unconventional ways, or in ways that are most loyal to the subject rather than most loyal to making money.